Shalom, my friends. Today we are going to approach a topic of immense significance and sensitivity. It is a question that has been a source of discussion, debate, and profound misunderstanding for 2 millennia. Why do Jews not believe in Jesus? My purpose today is not to debate, to proselytize, or to offend anyone's deeply held beliefs. On the contrary, it is to build a bridge of understanding. For our many non-Jewish friends who watch this channel and have asked this question with a sincere heart, and for my fellow Jews who wish to better articulate our own tradition, this video will provide a clear, respectful, and educational overview of the core theological reasons based entirely on the text of the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, that form the foundation of the Jewish perspective. This is a subject that requires maturity and an open heart from all of us. So, before we begin, I ask you to join me in setting an intention. Go to the comments right now and write, "I am open to understanding." This is a commitment we make to each other, to engage with this topic not as adversaries, but as students of wisdom, seeking clarity, not conflict. This channel is, and has always been, a place to explore the deep, life-affirming wisdom of the Torah. Our mission is to empower lives through these ancient truths. If you believe in the power of respectful dialogue and deep learning, I invite you to subscribe and join our growing community of 100,000 spiritual seekers. And for those who wish to apply these deep principles to the area of financial prosperity, the Torah Millionaire Business School remains open for a limited time. It is a deep dive into the spiritual physics of abundance, and the link is in the comments. Now, let us begin. To understand why Judaism does not accept Jesus as the Messiah, we must first understand what the Jewish concept of the Messiah, the Mashiach, actually is. The word Mashiach in Hebrew means anointed one. It refers to a future king from the line of King David, who will be anointed with holy oil, just as the kings and high priests of ancient Israel were. The belief in and yearning for this future leader is a cornerstone of Jewish faith, codified by the great sage Maimonides as one of the 13 principles of Judaism. But the Mashiach is not a divine being, not a god or a son of God in the physical sense. In the Jewish view, the Mashiach is a human being, albeit one of extraordinary righteousness, wisdom, and leadership. He is born of human parents, lives a human life, and will eventually die a human death. His mission is not to save souls from original sin, a concept that does not exist in Judaism, but to redeem the world in a very physical, tangible, and political sense. He is a king, a statesman, a teacher, and a visionary leader. So, what is his job description? The Hebrew prophets over centuries gave us a very specific and detailed list of prophecies that the true Mashiach must fulfill. These are not vague, spiritual feelings. They are concrete, observable, world-changing events. Think of it as a divine checklist. For any candidate to be confirmed as the Mashiach, they must complete every single item on this list. According to Jewish tradition, Jesus did not fulfill these prophecies. This is not a statement of disrespect. It is a theological conclusion based on a textual analysis of the prophecies themselves. Let us examine the most important of these prophecies. Prophecy number 1, the ingathering of the exiles. The prophet Isaiah says, "He will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the four corners of the earth." Isaiah 11:12. For thousands of years, since the destruction of the first and second temples, the Jewish people have been scattered across the globe, living in a state of exile. The single most important and universally agreed upon mission of the Mashiach is to end this exile. He will cause mass return of all Jewish people to their ancestral homeland, the land of Israel. This is not a spiritual gathering, it is a literal, physical ingathering. During the time of Jesus, the majority of the Jewish people were already living in Israel under Roman occupation. He did not end the exile. In fact, just a few decades after his death, the Romans destroyed the Second Temple in 70 CE, leading to the most profound and catastrophic exile in Jewish history, which has only partially been reversed in our modern era with the establishment of the State of Israel. From a Jewish perspective, the Messianic era cannot even begin until this prophecy is fulfilled. It was not fulfilled 2,000 years ago. Prophecy number 2. The rebuilding of the Holy Temple. The prophets Ezekiel, Isaiah and Jeremiah all speak of a future time when the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, the central sanctuary of Jewish life, will be rebuilt. Ezekiel provides a multi-chapter, minutely detailed architectural blueprint for this third temple. Ezekiel chapters 40 to 47. This is the house of God, a place of prayer for all nations. The Mashiach is prophesied to be the one who initiates and oversees its construction. During the life of Jesus, the second temple was still standing. It was a magnificent structure, the center of Jewish life. He did not and could not rebuild the temple because it had not yet been destroyed. As mentioned, it was destroyed decades after his passing. Therefore, this crucial messianic prophecy remains unfulfilled. Prophecy number 3. The era of universal peace. This is perhaps the most famous of the messianic prophecies. The prophet Isaiah gives us a breathtaking vision of the messianic age. "And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more." Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4. The prophet Micah echoes this almost verbatim. Micah chapter 4, verse 3. The era of the Mashiach is defined by the cessation of all war and conflict. It is a time of absolute global peace, harmony, and cooperation. The world will be so transformed that the very instinct for violence will be removed from the human heart. When we look at the world of the past 2,000 years, we see the opposite. The centuries following the life of Jesus have been the bloodiest and most violent in all of human history, filled with wars, pogroms, inquisitions, and holocausts. The promise of universal peace has tragically not been realized. A world still filled with armies, weapons, and conflict is, by definition, a pre-messianic world. Prophecy number 4. Universal knowledge of God. The Messianic age will be a time of unparalleled spiritual clarity, where all of humanity will recognize the one true God. The prophet Jeremiah declares, No longer will they teach their neighbor or say to one another, "Know the Lord," because they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, declares the Lord. Jeremiah 31:33. Similarly, Isaiah prophesies, "For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea." Isaiah 11:9. This is not a belief held by a specific group. It is a universal, experiential knowledge of the one Creator, shared by all of humanity. In this era, all forms of idolatry and false religion will cease to exist. The past 2,000 years have not seen the fulfillment of this prophecy. Instead, humanity has remained divided among many different religions, philosophies, and beliefs. The universal, undisputed knowledge of the one God has not yet arrived. These four prophecies, the ingathering of the exiles, the rebuilding of the temple, an era of world peace, and the universal knowledge of God, are the non-negotiable pillars of the Jewish messianic vision. They are not spiritual allegories. They are tangible, historical events that will visibly transform the entire world. From the Jewish theological perspective, since none of these events occurred during the lifetime of Jesus, he cannot be the prophesied Mashiach. The job description was not completed. Now, beyond the unfulfilled prophecies, there are also fundamental conflicts between core principles of Christianity and the foundational beliefs of Judaism as laid out in the Torah. Again, the purpose here is not to critique another faith, but to explain why these concepts are incompatible with Jewish theology. Core Belief Conflict 1. The Nature of God. The absolute bedrock foundation of Judaism is the radical oneness and indivisibility of God. This is the meaning of the Shema prayer. "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one." This is not just a statement that there is only one God. It is a statement about the nature of that oneness. In the Jewish view, God is a singular, non-corporeal, indivisible entity. He has no physical body, no partners, and no parts. The idea of a Trinity, of God existing as three persons in one, is incompatible with this radical monotheism. The concept of a man being divine, or of God having a son in a literal or physical sense, is considered a form of idolatry from a traditional Jewish perspective. The Torah repeatedly warns against ascribing physicality or multiplicity to God. Maimonides, in his 13 Principles of Faith, lists the absolute, indivisible oneness of God as a fundamental belief. Therefore, the Christian conception of God is a departure from the foundational Jewish understanding. Core Belief Conflict 2. The Role of Torah and Mitzvot. The Torah, with its 613 commandments, mitzvot, is the eternal, unchanging covenant between God and the Jewish people. The prophets state that the Torah will never be changed or abrogated. In the Messianic era, the Mashiach will not bring a new law or a new religion. On the contrary, he will cause the entire world to learn and follow the laws of the Torah. He will be the greatest teacher of the Torah, clarifying its commandments and helping all of Israel to observe them perfectly. The Christian concept that Jesus came to nullify or replace the laws of the Torah, or that faith in him replaces the need to perform the mitzvot, is therefore in direct opposition to the Jewish understanding of the Messiah's role. The Mashiach comes to uphold the Torah, not to render it obsolete. Core Belief Conflict 3. The Path to Salvation. In Judaism, there is no concept of original sin. Every human being is born with a pure soul, and each individual is responsible for their own actions. The path to connecting with God is through teshuvah, repentance, prayer, and performing good deeds, mitzvot. There is no need for an intermediary. The relationship between a person and God is direct. The idea that one can only be saved through belief in a specific person, or that one person's death can atone for the sins of another, is foreign to Jewish theology. While the sacrifices in the temple served a role in atonement, were part of a larger system that always included personal repentance and restitution. The idea of a single human sacrifice atoning for all of humanity's sins is a concept that diverges sharply from the path to God outlined in the Torah. So, in summary, the Jewish rejection of Jesus as the Messiah is not based on personal animosity or stubbornness. It is based on a consistent theological framework that has been maintained for 3,000 years. It stems from two primary points. First, the candidate did not fulfill the job description. The specific, world-altering prophecies that define the Messianic era, the ingathering of the exiles, the rebuilding of the temple, the dawn of world peace, and the universal knowledge of God, did not happen. Second, the core theological principles introduced by Christianity, such as the Trinity, the divinity of a human being, and the abrogation of the Torah's laws, are seen as being in direct contradiction to the foundational beliefs of Judaism as revealed in the Hebrew Bible. For Jews, the story is not over. We still wait. We still yearn. We still pray every day for the coming of the Mashiach and the utopian era he will usher in. We live in a state of hopeful anticipation, in an unfinished world, with the belief that humanity, led by this great human leader, will one day fulfill its ultimate destiny of creating a perfect world of peace, justice, and universal knowledge of the one Creator. I hope this explanation has been helpful and illuminating. My intention, once more, was to provide clarity and foster understanding, not to create division. In a world so full of noise, taking the time to understand a different perspective is a holy act. Thank you for joining me in this important conversation. Shalom, my friends.